It was thousands of dollars to get all the junk into a bin and out of there and cleaned. We did smoke remediation. Like, there was some work that had to happen. And drawing a quick parallel, at that same time as we're closing on that property, we're taking occupancy on the home that we are moving into. Again, my pregnant wife and I, into this home that I'm currently living in, all at the same time. So like, it's one of those things you don't really have the time to deal with this right now.
Mike Westie, how are you, my brother? Looking sharp. Welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Russ. I'm really excited to be here. Likewise, I'm just noticing the difference in our camera quality, and that's something I'm going to have to address here.
Well, Mike, mine is all makeup. It's makeup and tanning booths, and I subscribe to the Hulk Hogan, lots of fake tan spray and all that kind of stuff, and lots of camera filters, right? But you, my brother, look at that. I'm going to get that picture there. What is that in the background there? What a beautiful
city we call home, Kelowna, BC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
look,
lucky, so.
What are you doing today, Mike? You're it's not like you just mentioned off air. You were just on a boat this morning. Do you have the day off or something?
No, we were actually testing some equipment for, I'm a helicopter operations manager for a company in Kelowna here. So we were actually testing some equipment that we use on our helicopters and how it reacts to being basically submersed in the lake. So yeah, got out on the boat and did some testing. It's a good way to start the day. So.
Well, yeah, nice. Well, that is a very interesting story. So we're going to get into this. And you have a really cool story. You and your lovely wife, Kayla, have an amazing story. And I call it like the absolute poster children of the story of getting started in the journey of real estate. But before, I would be remiss if I didn't ask the question about how Kayla's doing, how's Jet doing, and how are the fur babies doing as well.
Yeah, everybody is wonderful. Jet has been just such an amazing addition to our lives. He's an absolute joy. Yeah. And we were just enjoying every moment. So.
Yeah, I saw this lovely picture that you had here up on from Mother's Day. This was the first Mother's Day, wasn't it, for you guys, wasn't it?
So I did put that up on Mother's Day. That was actually from a race that we did earlier in the season in Kamloops. So he had his little ear defenders on, and it was pretty neat to get him out there and see that. Nice. That world that we spent so much time in. So
well, and we're going to get into a lot of your hobbies. You have some of the coolest hobbies here. Like it's a technical term, and I don't want to show my ignorance here. It's motocross. Is it correct? Is that correct?
So we're kind of more on the enduro spectrum.
Okay.
I would say medium to hard enduro in Canada.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you do it. You race semi-professional or professional, don't you?
I have raced in pro classes. I definitely wouldn't call myself a professional in that, but very dedicated amateur. Let's say that. So.
Mike, you're extremely you're a humble Canadian. I would imagine that you get you and me on a bike beside each other. There would be like a night and day difference out there as well. And I think you're just being a little bit humble. We've had some conversations, and you tell me about the races and the places that you've gone and where you've placed, and you've competed against some fairly world-class athletes and that. And I have a feeling there's some professional in what you're doing out there, my brother.
Like I say, thank you for the compliment, and we could definitely arrange to make that happen, get us both on the bike if you're interested. So.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually coming out to the Okanagan a couple times this year, for sure. In September, I'm trying to line something up with my parents who are going to meet me. They're going to come out. It's something that they go, well, Russ, are you coming out to Saskatchewan this summer? And I go, why don't you guys come out my way? And Mom and Dad just get really anxious around the big cities. I said, well, let's just meet in the Okanagan. I said, done. Right.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, we're in that perfect part of not quite a big city and not quite a small town. It's that really nice middle that we fit into.
Yeah, so. And you never have to ask me twice to come out to the Okanagan. It is one of the nicest places in Canada. Now, I haven't been everywhere, but it is just we have to keep it our secret. But it is just it is a pure slice of heaven in this country.
I dare to say the secret is out over the last few years. And, I'm not surprised. I'm actually surprised it took as long as it did.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, we're going to get into this here very shortly. And one of the things I like to do on my channel is, and don't take this the wrong way with the term I'm about to use, is the following. I like to feature what I call rising stars. And you and Kayla you've probably passed the you've definitely got past the getting started stage, but the journey that you guys took on the getting started is what I want to share. But you guys are what I call absolute shining stars in the marketplace. And I like to feature people that maybe haven't really been featured before. And maybe they're just getting their start into this whole space of putting the message out, the raising of the capital, growing a portfolio. And I would consider you and Kayla in that realm of rising stars. And I'm looking forward to our conversation here today. So are you ready? Are you ready to be grilled over the coals over getting all your notes? And I'm just gonna hold you accountable to everything. Are you ready, Mike?
I am ready. Yeah. And thank you very much for the kind words. We're, as you said, humble Canadians. So it's sometimes almost awkward to hear those compliments, but I sure appreciate it. So,
well, here's the funny thing is, and it's not that we're comparing anybody to anybody, but it's when we dive into your story that you're about to share, when you're in it, like you and Kayla are in it every single day, it doesn't sound like it's a lot, but when you actually zoom out to 30,000 feet, it's like, holy crap, we've accomplished a lot in a short period of time. It's almost like watching Jet, your son, grow up. Is when you're seeing him every day, he doesn't look like he grows. But when Grandma comes from Kamloops, and she goes, "Oh, look, he's growing like a little weed," right? When you're not in it every single day. Okay, so I do have a question here for you. Okay. For those of you that are, for those that might not be aware who Mike Westie is, maybe give a little bit of your backstory, where you came from, what kind of led you into this world of real estate investing, and then we'll just take the conversation from there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I grew up on the coast. My wife Kayla and I, we've been together since basically straight out of high school, yeah, our investing journey has sort of just developed organically in time, right? And that's what's so neat about, I think, our story is that, when you reflect back on it, yes, and you look from the 1,000-foot view, it seems like a lot, but really it was just simple, calculated steps along the way that led to something that now we're very proud of, which is very neat because it becomes quite easy to teach and share with people that are just getting started. So I'm excited for this conversation. And yeah, about us, we, as I said, we got together quite young. We set upon our journey to build our careers together, went through college together. And, once we had established ourselves in the workplace, immediately started saving towards, buying our first home, like virtually every Canadian does, right? From there, I had read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, as I think probably most real estate investors will reflect back on as being one of those pivotal books that we read. And for me, it was for sure it was more than the information. It was a change in my mindset that it created. So, immediately after reading that book, the focus became, okay, we need to buy a rental property. It was just one. That was all we had in our target at that time. And so, we did. And now today we own, 7 homes in primarily Kelowna, with one in Edmonton through a joint venture, and portfolio valued around $6 million. Great cash flow, wonderful tenants, great tenant profile and property profiles in a market that is absolutely poised to take off. So, sorry.
Well, hang on a second here, brother. It's getting it's getting hot in here. So hang on a second. Bombs are dropping. You glossed over. You went from 1 to 7 properties and $6 million in like one little foul swoop there, my brother. It's like, yeah, that's fantastic. First and foremost, and here's the thing, and we're going to dive into this. And you're making this work in arguably one of the most expensive markets in Canada. out there right now. And we're going to dive into your unique way that you kind of look at this. But let's take a step back here.
Okay.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of, it's that stepping stone for most people to get involved in that. And then you instantly, after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you just said, oh, well, let's just go buy a house, right? So it was that simple. Where was the first place and what did you guys buy and in what year was that in?
Yeah, so our first place was in West Kelowna. Year would have been, 2012? Sorry, I'm terrible with dates. Approximately 2012.
So about 10 years ago, right? A little over. Yep.
Yeah, so we bought that place, and really, we had looked. We were trying to find this fixer upper, and we were going to do all these things to build equity, and the way it just worked out is we finally settled on a property that had an income suite in the basement. So we, I guess the phrase now, which I hadn't even heard at the time, is house hacked. And so we put some great tenants in there. They were with us for I think 5 or 6 years, same tenants. And they actually moved as we moved. So we sold that first home, built another one, and they moved with us. So, pretty neat kind of story there for our first. But yeah, we didn't do anything, really all that unique on that first one. It was just, we knew we needed to have some income generated out of that property. Again, kind of reflecting back to Robert Kiyosaki's, kind of mantra throughout that book. It had to generate income. So that was really our number one criteria, and we did that, so it was great property. We did end up selling it, which as probably anybody who's in real estate investing will reflect back on the ones that got away. That was one that got away.
Yep. So do you remember? So let's just go with 2012. So that's better part of 13 years ago. You bought a house with an income suite. Did it have the suite completed, or did you put the suite in? Was it an authorized suite? Do you remember kind of what you guys paid for it, ballpark?
Oh, Kayla's got all those numbers. That one, I honestly, I don't recall. I mean, it was in the 400 to 500 range at that time. Again, like I say, the one that got away today, it would be over $1 million for sure. But and then the income suite was existing, non-conforming at that time. The zoning bylaws in that area actually didn't permit them. They do now. But yeah, the previous owner had put in a suite and we rented it out all the same. Again, not really knowing too much about what we were doing other than, hey, we had income coming in. So, great.
Yeah. And you guys lived upstairs and you had the suite rented downstairs, or was it the other way around?
No, we upstairs,
Nice.
The downstairs. So again, like nothing really unique in what we were doing. Just
well, here's the thing: the unique part about it was you did it, right? And at the same time, how many people do you know probably that you graduated with and went to school with? And so 11 years ago, how do you mind me asking how old you were then?
Yeah, so I'm 38 today.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been late 20s, right?
Right. So in your late 20s, not many people were buying a house at that time, right? Especially for $400 and some odd $1,000. And I imagine it was probably nerve-wracking at that time to do that. And I imagine you probably had to skimp and save, and it was probably pretty tight to even just get that first place, even though you had a rental suite in it.
For sure, it was a grind. The first one always is, I think. But we saved hard. We worked hard. And we got there. It happens quicker than you would realize, right? So for anybody who hasn't taken that step yet, just work hard at your saving, take it off the top, and you'll learn to live with what you have left or very near. So yeah, it does happen quick for anybody that's looking to take that first step. So
yeah, and especially if you can qualify as a first-time home buyer as well, there's some fantastic programs for Canadians to get into a principal residence as your first-time home buyer. You can get into it you potentially can take money out of your RSPs in a home buyer plan. You can actually get into it with like 10% down or less. All the profits you make are 100% capital gains free at the moment, all kinds of stuff like that. So sometimes I encourage people right off the bat, if they haven't bought a place, take a look at your first principal residence as a great starting point.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if we were to do it all again, I never would have sold that one. I would have turned it into an up and down. I would have, I would have tapped into the equity and went and purchased but again, it's what you don't know what you don't know. And so at that time, we did what we thought was right. We took the profits, and then we went on to start kind of where we did get into more of a unique profile, and that we started building new construction homes, and then flipping those into rentals as we've gone along the way. So.
Yeah, it's always easy to go second guess ourselves and second guess of the shouldas and couldas and wouldas. And I wish I was 7'4" and could dunk a basketball with a full head of hair too, right? So.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I will say just quickly on that is, all of that could have been avoided had we tapped into a coach or other resources at that time that knew more than we did. Right. And I'm sure, as an example, had you and I been working together, Russ, you would have highlighted some options that we just didn't realize we would have had at that time. So,
yeah. Well, you never know. Sometimes the answer is to sell. You just never know if it doesn't fit, right? However, in this case, looking back in hindsight, it's gone, yeah, it's like one of those Homer Simpsons. Oh, it's more like what? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you sold that one place, the first place, and then you parlayed that into, what was the next acquisition for you guys as well? Another principal residence, obviously. What was that?
Yeah, so we did a new construction build in the same neighborhood that we were in, and again, so we contracted a builder, bought a lot, and again put in a basement suite into that one. So we've recently moved out of that. We were in there for a couple of years, and then we've gone on to build the one that I'm in now today. So
yeah. Okay, so then you went from one place, you sold it, took the proceeds from that to go into, and you then built a legal unit. It was a duplex, was it not?
Up and down.
Up and down. Yeah.
Yeah. Four up, one down. So, okay. And those are all rented now. So, and we kind of parlayed that income that we generated, or earnings that we generated off of the sale of the original, and it covered the cost of the construction on one, and then allowed us to buy a very much dedicated investment property that had a strategic plan associated with it for subdivision and infill. So
okay, nice. So then okay, so you went to that one, and so man, you jumped into the deep end pretty quick. Right after that first one, you went right into, I'll just go find a builder and we'll just go build our house just in the same neighborhood. So I imagine that was a fairly steep learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew we wanted to build. Kayla she loves new construction. She loves homes. My father and I had built a home when we were I was in high school. So, it wasn't as much of a stretch as you might think, but even for somebody who has no association with it, there's great contractors out there. Even if you know nothing about building, you can still be the financier for a build project all the same. And that's kind of what we've done now, right? My time is pretty scarce these days. So we contract all that stuff out. Yeah.
It's all about the who, not how. It's like, you don't need to, most people who I talk to, maybe will go do a little bit of building and a little bit of laying floors and sit there, and all of a sudden it's like, it's 40 degrees out in the middle of summer when you feel like you should be on a boat, and you're sitting there stuck putting down a luxury vinyl plank flooring to complete something. You may go, this isn't the best use of my time at doing that, right? So.
Yeah, and for us, it took a bit of time to get there, but at the beginning, again, it was a grind. I put in the time, the effort, but it all kind of accelerated that trajectory and allowed us to have more equity to tap in along the way. So I would likely do it the same, but yeah, at this stage, we contract most of that labor. Yeah.
So you bought you closed on the one place, then you lived in it for, correct me, how long did you guys live in it for? You just up until just recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it 4 years?
4 years. Okay. So then you refinance, or you pulled capital out of that one to then build the next one that you guys then moved into as your next principal residence, correct?
Kind of, yeah. We tapped. Sorry, it is complicated. We tapped into that capital to do the subdivision and duplex construction on the investment side of the more investment directed side of the portfolio. And then once the duplex was completed, we tapped into the equity to build this home for us to live in.
Okay, so we went from the first house to your second house, then you bought a investment duplex, and then you went from your current house you're in now to a new duplex that you guys just completed on built. Is that correct?
Yeah, built an investment duplex, and now we're building another investment duplex, and then we built this home. So yeah. Sorry, I know it's hard to, it's complicated.
I need a scorecard, my friend. It's just like connect all the dots together, and now I get why it went from one property to 7 units.
Well, it's not that big of a, it happened really quickly. You put all these pieces in place, and there's a pretty long period of getting everything set up and the growth and the development of the portfolio. And then it's almost like a switch has gone off, and all of a sudden, boom, you're at 7. And, 2 years earlier, you had one or two, right? It's so it does happen quickly. And so yeah, I do gloss over it, but really it feels like it happened that quickly. So well,
it really did, and the good news is, you identified and targeted, and the great thing was where you're living, which is fantastic, and you targeted a marketplace that was on a rapid appreciation growth curve on the way up. And don't get me wrong, some people sit there go, well, that's speculation. Well, not really. If you know what's coming, if you can see what's happening, it is investing. But don't get me wrong. If I ever told anybody, would you ever turn down rapid appreciation on your assets? Not one person would ever say, no, thank you. Right? So you say, thank you, you refinance it, and then you tap into some more assets in that area. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, the way we do it, it really is just sort of the icing on the cake. Like, yes, it has been a tool for velocity, if you will. But regardless, had it say the market stayed totally stable, there was still equity that we were creating through the build and cash flow that was generated through the type of buildings that we were building. So, the appreciation propelled us, but we ran our numbers beforehand, and it worked either way. So nice. That's kind of really special, I think, about what we're doing, is that it's, even now I'm confident to move forward on projects, in a relatively uncertain time in the marketplace.
Yeah. And I guess some people call it, you force the equity on certain things but essentially what you do is you just take something and you add value to it. You take a piece of raw land, which you bought dirt, and then you subdivided in many cases, and then you built up more housing on it, and then after you're all said and done, you had an asset on there worth more than what you put into it, and then you could refinance it again, right?
Yeah, it's kind of just a new construction burr with a added piece of development in the mix, right? So yeah, again, most of the money is made on the development component of it. Tapping into unused land for sure is where the majority of that equity is created. But in addition to that, there's the lift that you get through, again, financing these projects, and if you choose to do so, the sweat equity that you can also put into them. So
yeah. So you had multiple different avenues in a marketplace that was had some very strong demand for new housing, that had a shortage of housing, that had a high in-migration of population coming in. Okay, so really, Mike, in a blink of an eye, it's like you really did go from 1 to 7 units. And we're going to dive into some of the numbers of one of your most recent transactions. And there's some really fun things. Now, we could talk, each one of them has their own story that you can have. Did you have to overcome any pretty big obstacles in order to get into some of these places that you were at? Before we talk about the first, this latest transaction, the one you're doing right now, did you have to overcome some pretty big obstacles to get into your first couple units, my friend?
Not really. Again, it was just aggressive savings, and having that goal in mind. You have to put off a little bit of, immediate spending. Whenever all our friends were able to buy boats and cars and all those other toys, we were saving for the first property, and so there's a bit of delayed gratification in that sense. But as far as hurdles for that first one, no, just finding the right property that suited what we were up for, we dove right into a development on pretty well the first investment property. Kind of just didn't know what we were getting into, but saw a vision at the end of it, and we went after it. So I think that's probably that would probably be a hurdle that some would face for us. If we can see that kind of end game, I certainly have no hesitation in taking that step forward.
Nice. Okay, so let's dive into your latest acquisition, and I'm going to pretend I don't know much about it, but I've been part of this from the beginning, and there's some real fun stories on this, and it's got a really cool insight. And we're going to talk a little bit about the acquisition. We're going to talk about the plan. We're going to talk about the financing. We're going to talk about some of the end. Do you mind if we kind of go through a little case study here?
Yeah, by all means. I'm assuming we're referring to the next subdivision project.
Yes, the current one that's in the works right now. Like, it's funny. It's like you just lose track of them all, right?
Well, we just finished this house that I'm in and took occupancy on it earlier this year. So,
well, why don't we do this? Why don't we tie a bow to that one? Why don't you let's give a completed picture of that one. When you bought it, what you bought it for, the land, kind of the build cost on what you did, and then what was valued at the end, and and then what are you renting it for? Yeah,
so this one we live in. We've got renters in the basement. We're charging them $1,500 a month plus utilities. This which is under market value, to be honest. But it's our personal home. We're pretty picky on who we have in here, and great young couple. We had it actually listed higher than we ended up renting it to them for. Maybe Kayla and I saw ourselves in them a little bit, and in spite of what the market would have provided us, we wanted to, make sure that they had a great place to live. This one we built for just over $1 million. Our land cost was around $300,000. And then around $750,000 to build. Today on the market, we'd be at $1.3 million. So roughly $250,000 lift in something that I basically didn't have to do any personal work on, other than the financing and lining up the construction project, and then just some timing and
so was it as simple as just you went out and found a subdivision and found a lot and just bought a lot? Like, how did you find that? Like, what was it something you had to dig a little bit for, or was it easier than most people think?
Yeah, so we had just completed the duplex and the previous subdivision, so we had some equity to tap into. So naturally, before the appraisal was even complete on that one, we were shopping, as you do, and we were struggling. It was right in the heart of COVID. Things were going for just numbers that I couldn't wrap my head around. We were looking for another development. Like RU7s down in Kelowna were going for $1.7 million, the last one we saw, which set a record. And for anybody that's not schooled on the Kelowna development, RU7 is a fourplex zoning in the core of the city, so probably the most desirable zoning within Kelowna proper. So that's kind of what we were looking for. But again, the numbers, we couldn't make sense of them. Again, we sort of pivoted. There was a a lot that was available in this subdivision that we had already built in previously. That came on the market sort of last minute, one of the last ones on the phase, and the numbers look good, and we needed a place to put that capital, so we jumped on it.
Nice. And were you able to? So you had to probably put a deposit down on the land. Were you able to finance the purchase of the dirt at the starting point?
I mean, indirectly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. The down payment indirectly through an equity takeout of the duplex, and then once we actually had the go ahead on the land, we did take a land only mortgage at that time. So and then that rolled into a full mortgage through the construction process. So.
Right, and then you found a construction company in Kelowna. How did you find them? Was it pretty? Are there quite a few of them that do these kind of things, or how did you find them?
Yeah, there is. We had one that we've worked with in the past, and we're pretty loyal with people that we work with. So we've used them again. It was the third that we had built with them. They knew us, we knew them, we knew what to expect, and it was extremely straightforward. Almost, it's almost unusually easy.
Nice. Well, don't ever knock wood. Careful, lightning doesn't strike or something, right? The real estate gods. Oh yeah, watch this. Right.
Yeah, once you get the processes in place, so it's kind of just a rinse and repeat, right? You know who to call, you know who to set it up, you know the process. It happens really quickly. So,
well, I'm not quite familiar with that term, rinse and repeat. By the way, oh, hang on, sorry. Oh, okay. So then you bought the land for 3 and change. Construction 7 and change, into it for $1 million and change, and it appraised when you were done about approximately how much, give or take?
So I'm going to look at the actual appraisal numbers. That's on my spreadsheet here.
Yes, you do have. You two have some of the best spreadsheets around with some of your analysis. Sorry,
1.3 million.
1.3. So you legitimately added $250,000 to $300,000 equity to the process. Then at that, you converted it into a principal residence, right? And then you got a completion mortgage on principal residence type of a thing. Not going to ask you the details of the mortgage on that, but you can get some nice favorable financing on that, could you not?
Yeah, I mean, that was our plan.
Okay.
that plan, we kind of hit that capacity where they looked at us as our entire portfolio and determined that we were no longer eligible for the insured mortgage scenario. So in spite of meeting all the other criteria, they looked at our portfolio and said, well, you're too, essentially we had too many properties at that stage.
Darn, they were on to you. You're doing this as a business as opposed to just keep doing it and rolling it into another principal residence. Plus, and I'm not 100% up on my CMHC rules and everything too. I do believe once it gets over $1 million, you can't get CMHC insurance on it. I believe. I could be wrong though.
Correct. And that's, or it was, I'm actually not certain if that's changed with the way things have gone, but we had that sub $1 million target through the construction process. So we had just, if, contingency, if we had to go beyond it, it would have been through our just cash to carry it over.
Well, here's the thing is on your own principal residence, it's okay to keep the payment lower, right? It's okay to keep that lower. You had essentially built the down payment up in the equity valuation of through the build process, and you got a $1,500 plus rental helper on the sucker as well.
Yeah, and that helps with again the appraisals and debt service and all the rest of it. So it's kind of one of those things. It's did we need the rental suite? Well, maybe not, but it really helps through the process for the next one. So
yep. Right. Well, and then, I have a feeling when you guys are looking to build another house out there, the dream place on the lake, closer to the lake with the dock and everything like that, I have a feeling this one will be turned into a rental property too, probably.
Yeah, that's the plan. Well, the one nice thing, not the one of the nice things about doing new construction is you have total control on the quality of that product. So, with this one being, we kind of threw everything at it as far as soundproofing and like design in such a way that, there's literally no connections between our portion and theirs, totally separate entrances. There's not even any door between the two units internally. So, and then resilient channel, soundboard, and insulation. So it's like there's nobody in there. As far as you can tell, it may as well just be structural fill. So.
Well, when you're living in it yourself as your principal resident, you take the extra steps to make sure that that you do all those kind of things. This ain't no retrofit of trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. This is a purpose-built property that will turn into a fantastic rental property when you guys decide to move on to your next place.
100%. Yeah, exactly. So it works out great. So
nice. And then you took a little pivot and you took a little detour into Alberta, bought a place there, did a joint venture there. And we don't need to talk about that because I know if anybody's listening to my podcast, you hear enough about Edmonton to the point where you're sick and tired of hearing about Edmonton. Yeah, I want to hear about Kelowna more. And
if anybody wants, I can definitely refer them to a definite expert in the area.
Yeah. No, but you did it strategically. You guys did it. Why did you pivot to do into a different market for you?
Yeah. So at that stage, again, things were crazy in BC and Kelowna, and we were really struggling to make sense of the numbers that were coming out of here. So it was kind of twofold. One, our market was in a what seemed like an unstable or unsustainable trajectory up, and we didn't want to get caught up on that. And then two was we were looking at potentially transitioning me out of working away from home. So the cash flow component of the portfolio we were looking to bolster, and Edmonton provided that for us. So, Kelowna, while we do manage to have pretty strong cash flow on our properties, particularly over time, it's primarily been an equity play for us. And Edmonton, in contrast, was a little bit more of a cash flow play. So a nice kind of diversification move for us overall.
And the cash flow will start coming up a little bit. I know when you first got in, it was on the low side, and rents are finally starting to catch up. It's funny, just for some insights for you, I was talking with my property manager, and we were looking. Sorry, this sounds really. People go, oh, you're so greedy, you greedy landlords. You're always raising the rents. Now, in Alberta, our rents are extremely affordable and have lots of room to go up. So here's the story. We were looking at coming out with a new rental increase, and my property manager recommended something. I said, well, let me just take a look. So I jumped into the market, and this was just some of my properties in Leduc. And I went back to my manager and I said, do you know how many properties are for rent in all of Leduc? And they go, well, no, I said 14 wow. Properties for rent in the entire area of Leduc. We're going up another 150 over what you told me that you wanted to go up. So there's starting to be applications and lineups, and the rental market is going very, very quickly in Alberta right now. Calgary, especially, Edmonton, it's been lagging a little bit, but it's catching up.
Yeah, we definitely we had one come up recently, and in the spring here in one of the units in Edmonton, and it turned over really quickly. Good profile, good rent. So I do see that as well, which is great. And we, forecasting ahead, we saw that Edmonton, Alberta in general, was in a relatively flat state of the market, in a country within a country that was definitely had gone up virtually everywhere else. So for us, it was sort of just an inevitability that it would raise, and then couple that with its that market. I think a large reason why it's stayed so affordable has been the sprawl component that just sort of happens with the availability of land there. But then when you look at construction costs that were changing and raising throughout the country, I couldn't really make sense on how you could continue to build for the kind of values that properties were selling for, and from where I'm sitting, if you're going to continue to add people into that marketplace, and the only way to house them is to continue to build new, it was an inevitability that the overall market would have to adjust up as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And just for perspective, ballpark. So you in Edmonton, you have a garage suite property, house with a garage suite. Ballpark, what are you renting your house? And it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house. Like ballpark, what are you renting the house for?
So we are at, it's 2,000 and they pay the utilities for the main house, and then $1,250 and they pay the utilities for the garage suite.
Okay. So let's do this. So the house, 2,000 plus utilities. So let's say they're into it for $2,400 and change or whatever. How much would something like that in Kelowna rent for?
That house independent for sure, $3,500 a month.
Right. Plus, and then utilities, they still have to pay utilities on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great product out there with the garage suite being detached, and it's here. The numbers would be astonishing, but yeah, of course, the cost would be dramatically high.
Well, the cost would be at $1 million in front of it, as opposed instead of paying $550,000, you pay $1.5 million for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But lo and behold, then you went to that place in Edmonton, and then something popped up. Was it about a year ago or maybe a little long? Something popped up in Kelowna as a good opportunity. So that's the one we're going to dive into a little bit into now. So talk to us a little bit about your most recent project and acquisition and development that you guys are doing right now.
Yeah, so the one we're into at the moment, it's in Kelowna as well. This is exactly the same profile as the previous subdivision infill duplex construction that we've done about 3 years back. So basically what happened is this property came on the market. It was just as the market began to turn back down. So we kind of saw that top. Things weren't moving. Interest rates were climbing. And for us, we saw it as, well, hey, we can put in an offer and we can actually negotiate on some terms, and we can do a subject to financing, like what, eureka, finally, right? And yeah, so it's a great property with an adjacent bare piece of land that we could see that we could very easily put a duplex on without demoing the main house that exists, and then with some added potential for even greater density. After diving into the project a little bit more and running the numbers every which way, we have decided to stick with the duplex infill. I think it makes the most sense in that area, and so we are going to do that. But the thing that was so exciting about this one is we had virtually no opportunity cost for the development. So what we paid for that land with the development potential and house was virtually what that house would have been valued at in spite of that development potential. So,
right. So you essentially bought a house for land value, in essence.
Yeah, just as if it was a house with a small 10 by 10 backyard. We bought one that a 550 square meter backyard that was usable and could be zoned for duplex infill.
Okay, just so for my visualization is the house that it was a house was on this lot. Do you know approximately square footage of the lot?
Sorry, no. We deal in development. It's all meters squared.
Oh, meters.
So,
well, I'm gonna
approximately 1,100 square meters.
Okay.
And which is you basically are looking for, like our one zoning looks for a 550 square meter minimum. In this zone, you can do it's 325 square meter minimum parcel size. So
1,100 square meters is 11,800 square feet, give or take. So, well, it's a nice size lot.
Yeah, it's good. So, and again, like we didn't really pay anything extra for that. The house for sure had its quirks.
Yeah.
But we found a way to make that work as well. We've got again, for anybody that's not in the Kelowna market, we are still very much in a construction boom. These big multifamily projects that we've got going on, they're many years in the planning. So this will continue there for some time.
Yep.
We are fortunate in that we're connected with some really amazing people in the construction world as well. And so they had basically workers that they were bringing in to Kelowna to work on these large projects, and we're providing housing for them, which allowed us to kind of be at a cash flow neutral position while we carry it through the subdivision process.
Okay. What did you pay for that lot and house ballpark?
I can tell you exactly. So we paid
$745,000, and it was there was an existing house on it, and the house was on like one side of the land, and you essentially had a big bare open backyard space to it.
Exactly. That's what we look for, is a house that's positioned on the lot in such a way that there is land accessible without demoing that main house.
That's the key there, is that you can then subdivide the empty land, leave the house intact, and you're renting it out to some people by the room, and you're covering all your costs while you're doing all this development work, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot. I mean, I could list a number of reasons why we like that profile. One, it's super risk managed, because at the end of the day, that house is not going anywhere. If nothing works out here, we still have a great house that can be either a rental or just be resold. If for some reason, as an example, the development wasn't approved, it's not like we go and buy this house for some huge land value that we may or may not be able to access, only to find out that maybe the geo doesn't come through and you can't put the property on that unstable ground or something like that, right? Yeah. So it's risk managed, which we like, and then it has a number of exit strategies. So it could be a house that we sell, it could be a renovated house, it could be a house that we put a secondary suite in the basement. We can do a side by side duplex next door. We could do an up and down next door. We could do demo the whole works, and we could do a 60-unit townhouse. Like I love having all these different options to kind of It's super risk averse in doing it that way, and I don't know, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Wow.
So.
Well, the really cool thing is, and gang, here's what I tell people right now is, if you are buying properties in markets like the Kelownas and the Vancouvers and Torontos and Hamiltons and stuff like that, you need to have a density play in it. Like if you were just going and buying a townhouse that's already in a complex, that there is no value add to it, there's no additional anything you can add more to it, you'll have a hard time cash flowing, for one. But number two is there's really no upside to it. The upside is that you actually have some land that you can add density to and build in there. And you're essentially your costs are being covered by the house while you're exploring all your different options that you have.
Yeah, sounds too good to be true, almost.
Almost. So here's the thing is, okay, so with all those options that you had available to you, everything from just a house with a suite to a duplex to a 6-unit, and you had all these different designs, what did you land on, and what direction are you guys going on this property? Yeah,
so we've kind of landed on the side-by-side duplex with future development of the basements into essentially a fourplex. At the moment, that is not approved in West Kelowna. That said, downtown Kelowna just passed revision to their bylaw that allows for secondary suites in side-by-side duplexes. My expectation is that is right around the corner for us as well. But either way, side-by-side duplex on its own, side-by-side duplex with secondary suites, either way, it's a win. So
right.
I would fully anticipate this being 4 units by the time we get to completion.
So you're going down the path right now of, on the empty land beside the current older house, you're going to put a side-by-side duplex, and you're going to hopefully you can get an exception or a variance, or maybe they just change the bylaw and you just can put 4 units in. And even if you don't, maybe you rough it in and you can do it after the fact too, potentially.
exactly. Like 100%. We will at the very
It will be 4 units come heck or high water, right?
In my mind, it's an inevitability
Yep.
in this area. Like they have to do something. It's a logical step. Obviously, politically, it takes some time to get these things happening. But Kelowna's done it. I fully anticipate we'll do it. But regardless, we will rough it in. It will be ready for it when the time comes. Yeah.
So
Further to that, we actually strata that side by side duplex, so they become saleable individual entities, which has a bit of cost associated with that, but a huge value as far as equity lift. And then again, we're tapping into that equity at the end of it all, so it's certainly justifiable in the extra cost to run the strata.
Yeah. Now, just for people out in Eastern Canada, just for terminology here as well, we're talking essentially it's going to be semis. Ontario, Eastern Canada call these like semis, semi-attached, semi-detached. We call them duplexes out west, and out east they call duplexes houses with suites, and but they're semis. So think about just essentially 2 houses, 1 wall between the 2 of them, and whether there's
a party wall between the 2, and then secondary suites or a basement suite, or in Ontario, I suppose they do call the secondary suite in the basement is referred to as a duplex. So.
Yeah. Okay. So where are you within the process there? Do you have plans into City Hall? What step are you in the process?
Yeah, so we've just received our PLR, so preliminary layout review. So that's a response back to the city, from the city to our proposal, and they're happy with everything we've drawn up. So next step is take that PLR, which outlines their expectations for the project. We take that to the engineer. We take it to Hydro. We take it to we get our surveys done. All the rest of that stuff happens now, and we present that final case to the city. They'll give us that the rubber stamp, and off we go. We'll service it, and then once the land is registered, we'll start construction. So
nice. So
I say that in one breath. It's going to be a process.
Well, this is British Columbia, and BC does stand for bring cash and bring complications, and right. So you're talking 17 years to get this finished or something like that?
I sure hope not, but it won't be quick, unfortunately. In this area and BC in general, I think we move maybe a little slower than I'd hope on the development side. You could reframe that in a positive, in that it adds to the scarcity and adds to the value in the end. It's kind of hard to see that light when you're faced with some of these bills sometimes, but it is what it is. It was just at the end of the day, it's all justifiable costs. So.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine in Edmonton, and we were talking about the project we're looking to do, and we're just taking the next step, and they're going, "Oh man, the municipality is so backed up. It's taking 2 months to get an application to getting permits done." Yeah. and everybody in 2 months. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, in Vancouver, it could be 2 years here. Yeah. So I guess it's all perspective.
Okay. So based upon, obviously, you've had to do some kind of modeling and financial modeling to see if this is going to make sense for you. You're into the place so far for like $745 was essentially the house with land. Was that the number again?
Yeah, $745 for the house. Okay. And like I said, because this one, we would still value it, even with the land split off. We would still value that it would have a 7 in front of it, right? So for sure. So the opportunity cost for the subdivision is virtually nothing.
Okay. So then you're going to subdivide and put on side by side with suites. So what's the ballpark kind of build costs that you're looking at to get that kind of done now in today's? What are you modeling that for right now?
Yeah, the numbers I've used is around $750,000 for construction cost. And then I figure based on the last one we did, and then just accounting for a few unique differences from this property, I would expect that our servicing cost and subdivision to get that land buildable is probably in the realm of 200,000, which is it's about 50,000 more than the last one. But I'd rather be a little bit on the conservative side. So yeah, I'm expecting we'll probably be approaching that $200,000 mark just to use the land that I own, which is a tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is. So,
so you'll be kind of soft cost, development costs, getting the land ready, kind of thing is a couple hundred plus another 7 and change. So you'll be 9 plus the 750. Is it kind of like a $1.6 million range type of thing, or where are you at there?
Yeah, I mean, what may end up happening is we may just end up selling that original home. So I kind of look at them as two. I don't really lump them into the same grouping because, as I said, that house, even when it's split off, we would still sell it for basically what we paid for it.
Yeah. So essentially, you got the land for free in your development. Really, it's going to cost you $200,000. It'll cost you $200,000 to subdivide and develop it and get it to a point with the titles and the servicing and all that kind of stuff. But you have a house that's close to $700,000 that you could just peel off and sell potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I figure we're going to be just shy of $1 million for the project. At the end of the day, with the 4 units, I project around $8,500 a month plus utilities for income. It puts us around a 9% cap rate with cash flow in and around that $3,000 a month range. So
wow! So you're going to be around that $1 million. Is that to do a full 4-unit build, give or take?
Yeah.
Pardon my. Holy shit. That's awesome. That's a fantastic opportunity. And especially getting $8,500 rent out of it for a $1 million asset. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the most exciting part about this and what we did on the last one is we extracted 100% of our seed capital when it was all said and done. So again, part of this is kind of, we circle back to the choice to stratify or party wall or basically separately title each side. Each side is now worth more than the unit, the duplex as a whole, right?
Right.
So again, that all becomes more equity that we can access. So at the takeout at the end, we extracted 100% of seed capital and moved on to the next one.
So what? And I know maybe I think you were getting to it, but I sometimes like to have just kind of a simple number. At the end of it, so let's say it's all said and done, you've factored off the old house is kind of severed off, this new place side by side with 4 units. What valuation are you working off of for that place when it's all said and done, ballpark? Yeah, I mean, the last one, which only would have been 2 units, appraised out at 1.4. So, I would say we're safely in that range with this one. So even 1.4. So right there with the subdivision and then construction component, we're nearly a $400,000 lift. Holy crap!
That's where I say we can extract virtually all of our seed capital from. Right.
And okay, what size of units are you going to do on these semis on the side by side? What kind of size? How many square feet? Stuff like that.
I can pull up the plan for the last one. The actual construction plan is a little bit to be determined yet, but sorry, I don't actually have that.
Based on what did you do it if it was just to take the carbon copy of the one that you're in now, or the one you just recently did?
Yeah, what were we 500 square feet aside, I think is what we did. They were size units.
Oh, they're huge. They're huge units. Parking, is it attached, detached? What kind of parking?
Yeah, so we're kind of targeting a certain profile of tenant at the end, and so we want a garage.
Yep.
Even if it's a single, we want a garage for them. I know it's kind of that missing middle that we're trying to cater to. Everything that's going on around us is from a rental perspective, anyhow, is virtually all 1 and 2 bedroom condos.
Yep.
So as you said, it's pretty hard to make sense of renting out townhomes in Kelowna. So unless you're doing something like this,
nice.
Yeah, so we're catering to that, and so there's certain things that we figure that demographic is looking for, and a small garage for some storage, a small backyard space for some pets, something that you can't get in a condo. That's the things that we're really very much trying to provide them for.
Yep. Wow. Now, just for your own perspective, Mike, I'm doing a little exercise where I have a national perspective, and I was doing a little exercise to just get to benchmark side-by-side duplex pricing across the country. And I've just been kind of going in different markets and saying, what if I was to plop this down here, what is this worth here? Like, for example, in New Westminster, you can get a 2,000 square foot per side-by-side duplex for what are they selling at? Just under 1.8 million for that. On Vancouver Island, that same thing is going between 1.8 and 2.2. In Ontario, those things are like 1.8 to $2 million. So I'm just sitting there going, you might be, and I know I'm not doubting your number, but I think there's a huge upside there for you, my friend.
I'm pretty conservative with that stuff. But yeah, I mean, again, I kind of base it on what I expect the appraisal to come out at more than anything. So yeah, there's probably more in it, but to be conservative, I'm pretty happy with those numbers as they are. So
yeah, even if at 1.4 and you build it for $1 million, it's just like, holy macaroni, you're into it for nothing. So the question really would be is, how many of those do you want to do?
Yeah,
I know that's not a trick question, but right.
We certainly like the profile. So yeah, we'll just keep building them. I don't, we've looked at big multis and all the rest. For us, it's this is sort of the niche that we've found. I like it. It's exciting. I like the development process. I like construction. I like the planning, all that part of it. So yeah, I have no reason to think that we won't just continue down this path and seek out kind of clever ways to access land that other people aren't. And if that means taking an attached carport and knocking it off and moving where the driveway is, something as simple as a carport being removed that has virtually no value on the home, but could unlock potential land. Those are the kind of things we look for. So
yeah, and really, what's not to like about it? And I remember, and I was remiss here if we would not tell the closing story of this latest property. There was a really fun story on this latest one that closed. So I'm going to let you, tell the story about when you eventually went to go see the place after you closed on it. And there was a little surprise there for you.
Yeah, so this is a good. As I alluded to earlier, there is some quirks with this one, but yeah. So the story went basically like this. So closing day came. Kayla, who at that time, my wife, who is 8 months pregnant, her and I meet our realtor at the home, and we're all excited. Everything smiles and laughs, and catching up with our realtor and grab the keys, and possession day. It's a good day. So I put the key in the door, open the door, and look in the home, and at the top of the stairs, I see the previous owner standing there, and he's looking down at me, and I'm like, I'm taken back. I'm like, okay, because we closed on this. It was ours. He was expected to be vacated the property at this stage. And so anyhow, all he says is, "Oh no." And I'm kind of, I don't really know what to think of it. I go, "Oh, hey, typical Canadian. I apologize. Sorry for intruding on you in my home."
Yeah, this is my house. I just spent $750,000 on, but sorry for coming into my house.
Assuming it's an honest mistake, right? That he's just somehow got the date wrong or whatever, right? And so, hey, sorry, we expected you to be out. Today's possession day. We're looking to come in and have a look around the property and take possession. And again, he just sort of looks at me and kind of stunned, and he goes, "Oh no!" And so now I'm really confused. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he goes, "I've got a call girl coming to the house right now, and and Kayla is standing beside me again, 8 months pregnant, and her jaw drops, and I'm just like, you've got an escort coming to the house right now, my house, well, on our possession day, and again, just oh no. And anyhow, so he does. He goes, "Oh, I'll call and cancel. I'll call and cancel her." I'm like, "Yeah, well, that would be a good idea." And we do get him out of the house, and he takes. And this is classic. He has a duffel bag and a 24 pack of Old Milwaukee, and he walks out the front door into a cab, and off he goes. That was the extent of his move out of a home that had a life worth of possessions in it. So in that moment, we inherited all the food in his fridge, all the food in his cupboards, the dirty dishes, you name it, an absolute mess of a house that he had left it in. And yeah, so it wasn't exactly a rosy start, but
well, did he leave you an Old Milwaukee at least, or did he leave you a beer?
Yeah, he did offer. So I think, we're pretty much and among other things, there was he left a car sitting on jack stands in you name it. Anyhow, it was thousands of dollars to get all the junk into a bin and out of there and cleaned. We did smoke remediation, there was some work that had to happen, and drawing a quick parallel at that same time as we're closing on that property, we're taking occupancy on the home that we are moving into. Again, my pregnant wife and I into this home that I'm currently living in, all at the same time. So it's one of those things you don't really have the time to deal with this right now, but you kind of have to find a way. So.
Wow, that's a crazy, crazy story. Hang on a sec, my friend. That's got to deserve some fire for that one, for sure, right? And always where there's fire, there's bombs that explode.
I mean, if taken out of context, a guy could think, oh, that's a reason not to, right? And and those moments absolutely are going to happen. There's going to be moments where, if you tell the story, someone will say, well, I would never want to deal with that. I couldn't imagine dealing with that. But for us, we always kind of have that big perspective, that long game in mind. And, in 10 years, we're going to look back on that purchase. And I know we'll look back on it and just say, man, thank goodness we moved forward and didn't let that stop us. So, and that's kind of real estate, right? These things happen. But you got to move forward. You got to be able to pivot and find solutions to problems, and just keep going. And in time, it's going to work out if you can be a problem solver along the way.
Well, you're going to have to give a special name to that project. It's got to be the Old Mill Project, right?
I like it. We'll put a
little plaque or something over here. The Old Mill.
I might cement an Old Milwaukee into the foundation, maybe a couple. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. That's holy crap. That's those are some. And you're making it work. You're making, most people will sit there and go, well, they'll just toss out Kelownas and the Vancouvers and the areas in Toronto's and Hamilton. They'll just toss it out. Price is too high, right? Except for if you're an expert and you're an expert in the area and you got the good boots on the ground and you know how to take, an old mentor of mine once said, you take chicken salad, take chicken and turn it into chicken salad, right? You just essentially you create the deals, right? You make the deals happen. And not only are you making them happen, you're forcing some incredible equity numbers on that by doing some development work at the same time. So that's fantastic. Very proud of you, my friend. Very proud of you.
It's exciting. And what's really neat about it is, again, it's while it sounds quite complicated, it's pretty accessible. To pretty much anybody that's willing to just put in the time and learn the process and consult with the right people. So I look back and it's I don't really think it's a big step. When you tell the story, it sounds like your first investment property was a a year-long development project. Well, yeah, I didn't even register at the time. We just did it. And things came up and we were surprised on some costs and some numbers, but we move forward and you just press on. And man, the things that you learn through the process, it's I don't know, it's priceless, that part. So
yep, and you're doing all of this with a fairly busy, demanding full-time job and a brand new young family and all that kind of stuff too. So you're able to do it all. You're able to fit all this kind of stuff in while working full-time.
Yeah, some days it's a lot, but it's I think that's kind of that my personality anyhow, and maybe there's some parallels to draw to some of the competitive sports that I do, and you're always pushing, you're always trying to be better and take that next step, and sitting idle is sort of the last thing you want to do. And it is busy, but it's exciting.
Yep. And you guys have a very unique plan in place that you're trying to execute again. So why are you working so hard right now? You're doing all these projects and building and developing, plus working full-time and full-time dad. What is your big reason why you want to do all this, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the commodity we're seeking is time, for sure. It's not really about the cash; it's about the time and the life that the cash provides. So yeah, I mean, long game is retiring with our son and living off of the passive income that all of these investments generate, and then along the way, it's providing a great quality of life for us as well. So originally, looking back about 2 years, the goal was just to have me around with our son on the way. We're planning for having our son on the way, I should say, at that time. But now I have a job from home, which arguably I qualified for more on the merits of the things that I learned through real estate than the things that I learned in my career, right? Because all the business component that the real estate has taught me, the networking, the communication, and just prioritizing your time. All those things are things that I learned through that process, and that qualified me for developing in the career that I was already in. So it's kind of a neat thing that I didn't anticipate, but now that I look at it, it's obvious, right?
Yep. So I know this is a big general question, and I usually ask a little tighter of a question, but this is an appropriate question. What's next for you? You've accomplished a lot of things in a very short period of time at a young age, and now young dad, and you're doing your work and you're gaining the momentum with some good skill sets, and you've built arguably an impressive portfolio with more ambition for more. What's next for you?
Yeah, good question. The last little while has really been focused on family, which has been amazing. But the real joy is helping people for me. So I definitely see more joint ventures in our future. I see more mentoring and coaching in our future. I love the process of helping someone. I wish I had have reached out for more of that when we were getting started. If I have one regret, is that we didn't. I thought I had to do it all on my own, and I didn't. Right? There's people out there that would have propelled us that much quicker. There's no regrets. Don't get me wrong. But if I was to give my young self advice, it would be go and mentor with somebody that can teach you the things that you need to know that you're inevitably going to learn on your own, but you'll learn them quicker, and it'll save you some money along the way. Goals, just continuing to develop out this portfolio, work with more joint ventures, and keep adding to the housing supply. I feel good about that part of it. You gotta be proud of what you're doing as well, I think, and I'm proud of that, and providing great houses to really, it's just wonderful people, friends in the majority of cases. I would call them all friends. It's just a pleasure to be in this business. So,
and I think you said something a little while ago that was really resonated for me anyways, is that you get to a point where you build this up and then you start buying your time back. And then you start, once you bought back that time and you maybe have some additional time, then you pay it forward to the next Kayla's and Mike's along the way, and you pay it forward to help mentor other people along on their process as well. That's fantastic. That's why maybe we align really well there.
Yeah, yeah, it's great stuff. So, again, I kind of circle back, and Russ, you have so many amazing people on this podcast and your YouTube channel, and doing things that absolutely would just, they blow your mind. But the people I want to speak to for a quick moment here is the people that are wondering if they can do it, looking to get started. I'm telling you that you can, and it's easier than you think. And just have that positive mindset, and consult with experts, and do the homework. And when you hit a roadblock, keep going, and you'll look back. It won't take long, and you're going to look back and just be so proud of what you've done. I want to see everybody else succeed in this as well. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Hang on a second. Woo-wee! It's getting hot in here, and it is getting hot in here. It's like we're finally starting to get into the summer here. I imagine you guys are nice and hot out and toasty out in the Okanagan right now.
Oh, geez. It was the truck said 35 the other day. It just like a switch went off. So.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's summer's here, I think. So
I'm not gonna let you go yet. Do you mind if we have a few more minutes? I do have a couple more questions, if you don't mind. Here's the thing: is when you have someone that's done what you guys have done so far, I don't want to let you go because I want to extract so much out, and I just want to share you with a bigger audience and share you with a bigger world. Now, speaking of sharing, where do you hang out? Where's kind of social media? Where can somebody find you? If somebody wanted to reach out, maybe have a conversation about the Okanagan, what's the best place to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we run a lot of our stuff through the website. So
that's MK West Properties.
mkwest.ca. Yeah, thanks. Oh, hey, look at that. That place is beautiful. I'd want to own properties there.
I tell you, I actually just jumped on your website here. It's come a long way since we first talked about it. There's an awful lot of really good stuff on here. It's when we first talked about it was just fairly bare bones, but you've got a lot of you've built it out a lot more since.
I've got to update that even still. We got 2 ads to that. So,
well, I see this one. What was the one coming soon? I clicked on the coming soon. It says coming soon in 2022, I think it said.
Yeah, it's done. I'm a little behind. It's been a busy year with the little guy, but it's So through there, there's contact us up in the right corner there. That's a great kind of place. I've got a couple little tools that we've built. You can call me, text me. Honestly, it's kind of open door. I'm happy to help. Love having conversations with people that are excited about it, excited about the business. And then on Instagram, primarily MK West Properties, and then a little bit on Facebook. But I don't know if that. Yeah, there you go.
Nice. You guys do a high quality job with stuff you do. You need to do a little more, but that's but I will give you a break because you're crushing it already. So like I said, one of my intentions was to and I joked and had a little tongue in cheek about rising star. I think your star has already risen, by the way, my friend. But I know you, and I know your passion, and I know who you are as a person and your ambition. You've just started. You're in inning 2 of a 9-inning ball game for you, and you haven't even begun to discover your true power. You haven't yet. And when you step into it, you will know, and we will know too, because there'll be aftershocks when you really step into it.
Oh, well, that's incredibly kind. Thank you, Russ. It's exciting. So we're pressing on and working with great people along the way. So and building doors. Well,
I think we've said an awful lot here, but I do want to leave with one thing, and you were kind of touching on it already, and it could be the exact same thing you just said if you wanted to reiterate it again. But one of the things I like to share with people, or I always ask a question of my guest, is I call it if we were sitting here having a cup of coffee, and I'm feeling a little bit stuck, and I've listened to this podcast with you, and you're just literally on fire, right? You're doing things and stuff like that, but I'm feeling stuck. What would you share with me in order to help me take that next step forward for myself?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you're feeling stuck, one of the things that always gets me fired up and motivated is, there's a couple of things. One of them is just hopping on podcasts, like listening to podcasts, I should say, getting immersed in that environment again, diving into a good book on the subject. Those are things that really work. And then, just even analyze a deal, right? Even if you don't think you can do it, analyze a couple of deals and dive into the numbers. And I would argue that you're likely to find that passion through that process. Again, because I know when I even just before we hopped on the call, I updated a pro forma, and it takes a matter of minutes once you've done a couple of them. And I'm looking at the numbers going, wow, holy, what did I miss here? Check and double check, and no, that's So now again, the passion's ignited, and I'm like, okay, we gotta get moving on this one.
Yeah. Well, and I was joking, but I wasn't joking when I was talking to you and say, if these are the numbers and this is what is going to come, like, how many of these do you want to buy? Like, seriously, I was joking, but not joking at the same time.
Yeah, I don't want honestly, this will sound a little. Maybe overkill, but I don't want to see any unused land just sitting there with no housing on it. Like, and it doesn't have to be all of us, but I definitely want to be part of building a chunk of those. So yeah, how many do we want to do? As many as we can.
Yeah.
So personally, I think, it kind of becomes one of those organic growth periods now that we're in, with the amount that once you hit a certain capacity and they just sort of steadily appreciate and steadily you're paying down, in a pretty predictable timeline, equity becomes accessible again. So, for us to do one even just Kayla and I on our personal financing, one every 2 years is a totally attainable target. And then, that becomes exponential when we start looking at working with other investors that, maybe just know they want to be in the Kelowna market, aren't really sure how to make it work and attain cash flow and the nuances. Maybe they really want to do an infill project, but they want to work with an expert on just one, right? Maybe we do that. We partner on one property. They learn everything through that partnership, and then off they go on their own path, right? So lots of, again, kind of as many as we can do, I guess. Is
nice. Well, good answer, by the way. So, but, and do I have your permission? I would love to follow up with you guys on a fairly regular basis. It doesn't have to be like every month, obviously, but we always check in every month because we have when I say we, I sometimes take personal pride in the people I work with of a lot of their accomplishments, because I want to see good people win. And I'm from Saskatchewan, and we have an old saying is use good people. And you and your wife and your brand new son, you're about as good a people as I've met, and I want to see you win. And I take a personal accountability and responsibility to making sure that I can help you win. And so what I'm trying to get to is I would love to have permission that we can maybe do another episode and say a year, check in on the progress of what we're doing, of what what you're doing. And I actually want to come out there. I want to film something on site and do a video right on site on a couple of your projects. Are you open and down for something like that?
Absolutely. We could do the tour.
Well, and then maybe we can get on a boat or something too, and have that beautiful Kelowna background out there, and on one of the beautiful lakes out there.
Yeah, that sounds excellent.
Right on. Well, I tell you what, I look forward to sharing this story on my platform for many more years to come, because it's just started. And I know it's when I say just started, it's come a long way, but just wait till you see this in another 10 years from now. If this is the progress you guys have made in 11 years, just wait till you see in 11 years from now what this is going to become. I'm honest to goodness, I'm popping a bowl of popcorn, because this is going to be an epic movie, my friend.
That's something good. Thank you.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, this is Mike and Russell, and we're signing off until the next one. Bye for now. Well, looky, you made it right to the very end. You should be rewarded for this good behavior. Number one, make sure you click the subscribe notification, the button, the bell, all that good stuff here. Subscribe so you don't miss an upcoming episode. And over here and here will be a selected playlist and a next video for you to watch to continue your journey going forward. You should be rewarded with some great content. Let's go!